All right, all right, all right. All right, Ronnie, we should be on now, man. It should be straight. Should have everything back in place. Um, cool, man. So, first off, man, you're a Saints fan. My
Yep.
being a Bucks fan. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be pretty weird for a lot of cats to see and hear uh, fans of our two teams talking about the upcoming game because this is technically hate week for a lot of people.
It usually is hate week with both of our teams. Let's be honest with ourselves there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, so I'll start from the top, man. Like, how did you become a Saints fan? Are you a native of New Orleans, Louisiana area, or what's happening?
I I'm not in Louisiana native. I was born and raised in Alabama.
Born and raised in Alabama. Being born and raised in Alabama, so you had the choices of being a, let's see, you had a choice of being a Falcons fan, and you had a choice of being a Cowboys fan, simply just because of the region. Being because I'm from Mississippi. Being from Mississippi, those were the teams that were on television and played on television regularly. And give me 1 second. I apologize.
Okay.
All right. So again, people aren't expecting to hear the two of us, two fans of the of we say, well, Bucks fans claim we say we're rival to everybody. Anybody in our division is a rival to us. However, Saints fans, a lot of you don't look at us as rivals to you. You guys claim the rivalry with Atlanta more than anything. So again, you became a fan of the Saints being a resident of Alabama, born and raised. How did that even happen?
Well, the I ever remember watching was the Rebirth game.
The
First,
Rebirth game. Explain that to us Bucks fans who might not be familiar with it.
it was week 3 of the 2006 season, the first game back in the Superdome since Hurricane Katrina.
Okay.
And it was instantly known for the Rebirth game because of Steve Gleason's blocked punt.
Mm-hmm.
A game that the Saints went on to win. And that was the first game of the Saints I remember watching.
That was the first game you remember watching. How did that? Okay, if that's the first game you watched, so that's a pretty emotional time. Like that's literally that's game changing. That's life changing for a lot of cats because that's high emotions running in that scenario. So that was your first game, and you just became addicted from there.
Pretty much. But even though I was already addicted to football by watching pretty much my Alabama Crimson Tide. But that's another story for another time.
That's another story. I too, I follow Alabama. I grew up between Mississippi State and Alabama, University of Alabama. So I was kind of between the two, but I follow them, still follow them. Yeah. Again, another story for another time. Give me 90 seconds. 1 second. I'm gonna fix something on my end. I'll get right back. Stay we are. We're still recording.
Right?
All right. Sorry for that, man. My battery went dead on my camera. I was like, where the hell am I? I can't see myself on the screen. All right, cool. So Alabama, born and raised, became a Saints fan from the 2006 Rebirth game after Hurricane Katrina. So you got emotionally attached to the team from that point. Uh, so being emotionally attached to the team at that point, like Like, how did you continue watching? Because I know growing up in Mississippi as a Bucks fan, I had to wait till like the week after games happened or days after before I even could keep up or find out statistically what was going on and highlights and stuff like that because we weren't getting a whole lot of national coverage. But even though 2006 was pretty much like during our downfall after our Super Bowl and super competitive years.
Well, it didn't realize that you had John coach.
Then we had who?
John Gruden.
Yeah, John Gruden. I got a whole lot of opinions about John Gruden. I'm not gonna get into it. So,
and, and usually the Saints usually get the local games like on Fox, CBS, stuff like that. And that 2006 season was made people look that this can't.
Hey, give me your audio is going in and out. I'm not sure if it's a connection on my end or what the deal is. Let me see what's happening there. All right, let's try that again. What was the last statement you were making, man? Before your audio was going out a little bit.
I said that 2006 season really made people look at the New Orleans Saints and made them all say this can be a really good football team.
Yeah, how much of that do you think because a lot of people wanted to pull for New Orleans, being that it was Hurricane Katrina and all that stuff and all the adversity that the city itself was going into? How much do you think that people were actually rooting for New Orleans just nationwide, just to give those cats, the city and the team, something to look forward to and something they can hold their hat on, being that there was so much controversy around the Hurricane Katrina stuff and so much tragedy surrounded by it?
I think Katrina played with it, but at the same time, you also got a new head coach and a new quarterback.
Mm.
Two guys who would pretty much define the franchise for almost 20 years.
It was a big deal with Drew Brees coming in and Sean Payton because that's when they both pretty much took off in their careers together. So yeah. I mean, that's dead on. That's a great point. Because that was a long line of success. Definitely more success than what they'd seen previously, coming from their previous head coaches and their previous expected highs, and then those super ridiculous lows that came in. Having quarterbacks and bad players like Aaron Brooks and so many others. Because you guys at this point, man, it's 2023. You guys don't have, to my knowledge, I don't think you guys have had a drafted quarterback that has played and thrown a touchdown in a regular game since 1997. I think Danny Warfel was the last cat that you guys had that was a drafted quarterback that actually threw a touchdown in the game.
And the last time quarterback in the first round was Archie Manning.
Yep, it was Archie Manning before him. So yeah, I mean, that's a long time to wait, and then to have something to root for. Obviously, the game isn't built completely around or about the quarterback, and when you're actually looking at the real game itself, but that is how people perceive the team based on their hopes for the quarterback and everything like that. Which is, like I said, for better or worse, it's just kind of how it goes. So cool. So you followed the team since 06. Would you consider yourself a diehard fan? You think you stand close to some of these other cats who've been around since the inception, around 67, whatever it was that they came about?
It's complicated, because sometimes you can watch the games on TV, but you don't exactly follow the team because they're not on TV all the time.
It's very much similar to fellow Bucks fans like myself and others, and other fellow Bucks fans. Like a lot of us, I think the most diehard Bucks fans may not even be in the state. Most of us, I say most of us, as far as like the people who really, really wanted to be around the team, we did so from afar. Like I'm coming from Mississippi, and I know friends and fellow Bucks fans who are coming from Memphis, Tennessee, and Minnesota and New Mexico. These are the ones who were like, we were so starving to be around the team when we couldn't be. By the time we got to areas where we could be around the team, like we consider ourselves hardcore, far more hardcore than some of the locals, the people who were basically spoiled by the team and had other stuff to root for and had all these other activities they can get involved in. Well, we were like, fuck it, man. We just want to be rooting for our team as much as we can and as loud as we can. Uh, and New Orleans has never had that problem. Is a team that New Orleans is a team that's is for the city. Like the city of New Orleans is the Saints.
Mm-hmm. That's great. What they do, they play for their city. They play for the fans, and you can't ask anything more than that.
No, it's got to be a great feeling. Especially again, it's got to be a great feeling for like the hardcore fans and fans like yourself and others and stuff like that. But looking at the team now, man, we're going into week 4. Both teams, Buccaneers and the Saints, stand at 2-1. Um, Coming off of disappointing losses in various different conditions. What do you think the state of what do you think the state of the Saints is for fans? Like, how are you looking at the Saints right now going into this week 4 matchup?
Honestly, the offense need to crap together. The O line is terrible. Pete Carmichael seemingly cannot call an offense unless he's begged to, and of course the defense is going to get tired if the offense keeps going 3-and-out every single play.
Yeah, Bucks fans can relate. We've seen this. We've seen this for several years, even the Super Bowl years. We've kind of seen similar deals. We had similar questions and surrounding our offense, and never not so much our offensive line, but definitely our offense and our offensive play calling. What have been the biggest faults that you guys have had in the complaint against your OC and the plays that are being called?
That he's not open. Even when Carr went out, when James was playing, you would not open the offense for him. And you're trying to make him this Drew Brees-like player, something he's not. He's a gunslinger. Let him throw it deep for once. Like when Sean Payton was coaching for the final season, at least he let James Winston throw it deep once in a while.
Yeah, Jameis Winston did throw. I mean, he had the targets to do so, and sometimes he had the time to do so. If your offensive line are really giving him the time, and you guys are afraid of that, the one thing I'd say that just as a football fan who set up and rooted for this cat for 1, 2, almost I'm gonna say 6 years, 2 years in his college career, and then actually 5 years in the first 3 years of his time in being in Tampa. It's not a guy you want to give a whole lot of time to and then actually open stuff up. I remember when he came to New Orleans. When he went to New Orleans, I got a lot of Saints fans who were ranting and raving, saying that he was going to be able to be a different kind of quarterback. Sean Payton's not a fool. Sean Payton he wrangled the hell out of Jameis Winston when he limited his passes because he didn't want him throwing the games away, which was a very, very, very smart move. I mean, now that you see, and Dennis Allen was in the building when that was going on. You don't think that that's something that Dennis Allen has kept in mind? Like Dennis Allen has seen him play on both sides. He's been on his team as well as he's been trying to defend. He's defended them before, and he's been successful defending them because Jameis Winston didn't play worth a damn against the Saints when he was in a Buccaneers uniform. So, do you think that is a reason why your OC would not open up the offense for Jameis Winston, or does this go back to more Derek Carr as well?
I think it's both because when Derek Carr was throwing the ball, he would make some smart decisions, but sometimes he would make some dumb decisions. But Jameis, you're probably going to get more dumb decisions than smart decisions. And even when he was playing in Tampa, honestly, just have that 30 year kind of wasn't his fault because some of those some of the receivers couldn't catch the ball and it kept getting deflected into interceptions. And I don't want to. It's it's hard to say per se, but it's getting to a point where people love the guy. People love him. But as a player, he keeps making the same mistakes, and you just can't have that on your team.
That's 100% correct, man, and that's why he wasn't going to ever be a Buccaneer for a second contract. Um, I was going to wait to speak on him directly or speak on the topic of him for a while, but since we're here, we'll continue. Even in the game last week when he got in, when Derek Carr got hurt after the third quarter, or in the middle of the third quarter, no, it was much the end of the third quarter, I believe. But Jameis Winston did exactly what Jameis Winston does. Jameis Winston may have success with one pass and one receiver, and then somehow, some way, whether it's a call or it's him making the decision when he's after he snaps the ball, he goes to that target every time. Well, not every time, but he goes to him like repeatedly. Just he just you can see him targeting his favorite thing, whatever it was that was successful the last time. That's what he does, and that's why other teams have, especially when he was Tampa, that's why all the teams were able to pick him apart as far as like just basically wait on the opportunity because he was going to continue doing the exact same thing that he had a small amount of success in. Is that a fear for you guys going into week 4?
The fear is that the offensive line still won't get their crap together, and Pete Carmichael's just going to call the dumbest. And honestly, our defense might get tired because that's what happened today.
Yeah, give me that last part again. What was the last statement?
I said the defense might get tired because that's what happened with Green Bay. They got tired, and Green Bay capitalized on it.
I'm telling you, again, this is a very similar story to a lot of the losses and the faults in Tampa over the past few years. And this happens with any offense when you're not efficient and when you're not in a flow of things. You just, even if you're not putting points on the board, you got to be able to move the ball to take time off the clock to give your defense rest. And we've seen this in Tampa for, my God, for the last 8 years or so when the offense was bad, whether it was a talent thing, whether it was our quarterback not being able to make good decisions, or our offense and our offensive coordinator not being able to call plays and do things that made sense. So, yeah, so you guys are pretty much in the same predicament as Bucs fans have been in a while. That's one thing, but on the flip side of things, the Saints have a decent defense, and I can't say always, but they've had one in this recent era over the last 6-7 years. What do you see with those guys? Any matchups that you see anywhere, specifically on the defense, anywhere that you see that they're gonna have success, they can do something with Tampa's offense as it stands now with the new OC and with Baker Mayfield going into his 4th game on a loss?
This might be a day, but Lattimore versus Evans is my favorite matchup to watch.
Yeah, it's a lot of people's favorite matchup. I I really want to say it's overblown to a degree. I mean, I love the fact that they've got a physical rivalry amongst each other, and they go at it over various scenarios. But Mike Evans has said several times that he respects the hell out of out of um, Lattimore because they're two of the best and they just want to compete. But when you look at the stats and you look at everything that's going on, you'll see Mike Evans just doesn't get targeted a lot when he's playing against Lattimore. And I've been to at least half the games and have seen him in person, and there's really no reason for it. During the Tom Brady years over the past, God, I hate saying Tom Brady years, but over the 3 years that Tom Brady was there, Tom Brady felt like he had so many different options he can go to that he just threw it somewhere else, and he never had real good success against the Saints and their defense. My Jameis Winston was just terrible with accuracy, and he didn't target Mike Evans, even though Mike Evans I thought he had an advantage a lot of times against Lattimore, but as a Saints fan, like obviously you guys have the bragging rights in that world because there have been more losses. I'm sorry, there's been more wins than losses against Tampa Bay with Marshawn Lattimore playing the way that he's playing. Like, how do you see that rivalry between the two of those guys?
I think it's two alpha males trying to prove that they're the best. It's cliche, but it applies with them.
Yeah, they don't mess around, man. I don't think I've ever been able to track down anything with Marshawn Lattimore speaking on Mike Evans. Like I said, I've seen and heard Mike Evans give a lot of respect to Marshawn. Like it's nothing personal, but when I see you, we just gonna go at it regardless. I mean, they try to play clean. They try to play clean. At least Mike Evans does. I see him. He talks a lot of craziness, and Marshawn gets on his skin. Again, he's not getting targeted. He's running these routes. A lot of times he's beating them on these routes, but he's not getting the ball for some reason or another, and he gets frustrated as hell. And I'm not sure what kind of trash talk Marshawn Lattimore is giving him, but it's obviously it's there. He's got him. Like he gets on his skin pretty damn bad.
It kind of does, and sometimes that can happen.
Yeah. So any other matchups, man? I mean, you guys got a pretty solid defensive line. Our offensive line is almost in a similar shape as you guys is, and that we still don't know how good or how bad they are. There are some complaints amongst BUCS fans about our offensive line. But you got some pretty good guys, like I said, on your defensive line. Like who would you be looking at this to have a good day? If anybody had a good day, we know we got Cam Jordan, who's going to talk a whole lot of shit and do a whole lot of illegal shit. As far as BUCS fans, like it always goes back to him punching two of our fucking players on a pile a few years ago. But you got, again, he's a good player regardless. But who else on the defensive side of the ball do you feel like can have a good day against this current offense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
It may be cliche to say, but I think Brian Brzee might have a good day.
The young guy, Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a solid guy in the draft that I kind of liked. I kind of looked at. Yeah, he's been doing pretty good work so far. He's been doing pretty good work. You guys also had another cat out of Notre Dame who is one of my. He's an outside linebacker. He's a pass rusher. He was one of my draft crushes, and we didn't get him. Now I'm blanking out on his name, trying to forget who the hell he was.
Isaiah Foskey.
That was my dude in the draft. I told about 5 other BUCS fans that this dude could be mean as hell, and I hated the fact that he ended up in the NFC South, and I even more hated the fact that he ended up on the fucking Saints. But Isaiah Foskey, I think he can be a serious dude. He can be the Shaquille Barrett of the New Orleans Saints, and I hate that. I hate it. So I hope he doesn't have a good day. I hope he doesn't show up. On the offensive side of the ball, you got Kamara coming back, who is basically he has been like the target for the BUCS defense. Like he's the guy that we said, if we can stop that dude, if we can slow him down, then we take away a great X factor from New Orleans. Now he's coming back. Talk to me about that, about the inclusion of him coming back now, and how that might change how your offense works.
It might really help. It might main game out, but but Kamara's not the only person you got to deal with. You got to deal with Olave, MT, and Rashid Shaheed. Those guys can get to the ball really fast.
Yeah. The wide receivers that you guys do have, they're solid. They're better than solid. Chris Olave is probably one of the best young wide receivers out there. Michael Thomas is still trying to climb his way back to what he was a few years ago, a high volume targeted player who put up a bunch of numbers. Again, a lot of it was volume, but he was a solid guy. And it could be facing a Buccaneers defense that's going to be possibly once again be without their number one and number two cornerbacks. Um, and that could be a problem for us on our side. Hopefully, we would get our backups that can do a lot better than what we put out in Philly in the week 3 loss. But we have an advantage in the fact that over the past 3 or 4 years that Todd Bowles has been there with his system, he's been having to play with backups left and right throughout his whole time. I got number one guys or number one and number two guys at cornerback have been in and out of the lineup for a lot. Same thing with our safeties and everything, our whole secondary. And the coach has been able to formulate a plan to make things work for the guys that he have. But yeah, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, and Shaheed. He's all three of those guys are pretty damn tough. Pretty damn tough. Who else would you put out there? I know we still got Tebow Light back there, who's still a threat to run the ball or fake a pass and all that stuff like that. How do you see his usage right now? He's been used pretty damn heavy recently, and I'm sorry, well, not recently, but this season through the 3 games, he's been out there putting up a whole lot of production. He's just been a threat out there for a lot of it.
Also, you can use him at almost any position. Honestly, he's really good. He needs to honestly run the ball more. When Kamara was suspended, you could have put him at running back, honestly, in my honest opinion.
So, with Taysom out there, though, like, do y'all feel like that takes away from the Chris Olaves and the Michael Thomases and the Sheeds? Is that, or is that just, does this make that more of a threat because nobody knows, what he can or what he will do once he's out there?
I think he's a threat no matter where you put him, to be honest with you.
Cool. All right. So it's a tough question. Again, coming in 2-1, both teams. Do you feel like this is going to be? Do you feel like this could be like the breakout game or a breakout game for anybody on your squad? Do you feel like anybody, again, looking at the matchups, do you feel like, hey, this is a great opportunity for somebody either on your offense or your defense to take advantage of whatever's lacking or whatever you feel like is lacking on the Tampa Bay side?
I feel like it, for guys like Alontae Taylor and Breezy, those guys could really be good.
You feel like that? So you feel like this could be a game for any one of those guys to break out?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting game, man. I still feel objectively like the Bucs can cause a lot of problems for New Orleans, but I also honestly feel like there could be some issues that the Bucs have. Being, again, the wide receivers being that 3-headed monster. Actually, it's actually a 2-headed monster. 2-headed monster between Michael Thomas and Chris Olave, having those cats out there against some backup cornerbacks for us, possibly that might be a problem. And even with an injured Carlton Davis, the third, who is our starter, that could cause some problems for him. That could be a thing. Then we also have the returning Kamara. Kamara, again, he's a mean talent. He's never really had like a big game against the Bucs. It was all because the Bucs did their job against him. Like he's been a hell of a threat, but he's never had like a major game for him. He may be hungry coming out for this game, but if the O-line has the same issues that you were speaking of earlier, maybe he doesn't have another big game against the Bucs. Like it may be, you may find yourself in the passing world a whole lot if they don't get it together with the run. And again, that's going to be scary for the Saints because, again, we talked about it earlier. You got a quarterback who needs to be limited in his opportunities because he has a tendency to throw away games. He has a tendency to throw away opportunities and basically make a track for success or a track that can lead to success for the defense because he tends to do and make the same mistakes over and over. So yeah, it's going to be it should be a pretty good game. Should be a pretty good game. I think the Bucks on the offensive side of the ball, I think they can cause a lot of problems for the defense. I know you guys have a really solid defense, but for the first time in 8 years since you guys' defense has been solid, there's actually a mobile quarterback, a guy who can actually get out of the pocket and may make himself a threat when it comes to Baker Mayfield. He's also got a lot of stuff to prove in Tampa. He's coming off a loss, like I said before. So yeah, there's a lot of question marks, but there's a whole lot of room for whole lot of room for an explosive game and a whole lot of room for possibly a disappointing game for one or both of the teams. Um, if you had to pull up if you had to put up a prediction for the game, what's the prediction you would go with? Either a win or a loss or performance based. If you had to come up with a prediction for the game, what would you come up with?
I think it's going to be an awfully close game, like always between our teams. I think it might be more of a 20-17 game.
Yeah, so another relatively, it's pretty much a relatively low scoring game, with no team basically getting a big advantage over the other. So real quick, let me just spit out some rankings for both teams, just so we can kind of gauge where both teams are. Looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense versus the New Orleans defense. First off, so as going into Week 4, the Bucks are ranked number 19 when it comes to points per game at 19.3 points per game. New Orleans is the 6th ranked defense, giving up 16.7 points a game. So the Bucks score 19 a game. The Saints only allow 16 a game. That's something to be looking at. That's something to take into consideration. When you look at the New Orleans offense versus the Bucks defense, New Orleans is the 25th ranked offense, only scoring 17 points a game, while the Bucks are the 9th ranked defense, giving up only 19 points a game. So it's a pretty it's pretty tight when you're looking at the offensive production versus the defensive limitations that each defense and both offenses can put up. So it's not like one has a super wide margin to have bragging rights about, because the defenses of both teams pretty much cancel out the offense of each team. So either somebody's offense is going to have to do something major, or the defenses are going to suck one way or another.
And going to get tired.
Exactly, and get tired, which has been an issue for both teams so far. Well, at least when it came our last game, that was the issue. We were thinking that, okay, we got enough stops and enough opportunities on defense. The offense got to make something happen, and all kinds of stuff happened where it didn't happen. Let's see. What else? Any parting notes, man? Anything that you got? Who would you have your Saints fans, your fellow Saints fans, if you had to give them hope for the game? What would you tell them or what would you point to as a reason for your fellow Saints fans to feel good about the New Orleans, that team from the Crescent City? What would you tell them you guys have to look forward to as far as the possibility of winning this game?
Honestly, the defense is still as good as they were last year. And Derek Carr might not miss a whole lot of time because he only suffered an AC joint injury. He'll probably be back soon. Let's just hope it is soon, because we dodged a major bullet with that injury, because I thought it was a concussion, to be honest.
Now he last I checked, I think it was this morning. He in his press conference, he hasn't even ruled himself out of playing Sunday if he feel like he could go. He said he's going to go out there and go. I don't think they've ruled him out just yet, have they?
No, but Adam Schefter did say that it would be a miracle if he did play.
Okay, cool. All right, so we can probably guess that he may not play, even though again he tried to give the hope that he'd be out there if he could, which is what most most starting quarterbacks would say anytime they get a chance to play, they don't want to give it up. However, I have to look back at Baker Mayfield, and that's what got him out of Cleveland, playing a tough guy, trying to fight through an injury. Obviously, obviously Derek Carr. I'm about to say Drew Brees. Obviously, Derek Carr has been in the league long enough to have himself established a little bit, and he doesn't have to try to make himself something he's not or try to play the tough guy. So he probably won't make that decision to go out there and try to play with an injured shoulder. That's not a smart move.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So again, those are your favorite. That's what you got for the game there. Anything that worries you from the BUCS side, the offense, the defense? I know you already had concerns about the offensive line, but is there anything that worries you or will give you pause to think about a potential win coming up in this game?
Honestly, if Devin White or Vita Vea have a good game, it may be a long day.
Yeah, both of those guys are having a good game. Yeah, with a weakened offensive line, if the offensive line is as weak as you are concerned with them being, our two monsters in the middle, they could definitely wreak havoc. Yeah, those are both really, really good guys, and one of them is coming. Well, both of them are coming off injury. Both of them were injured in the Week 3 game. They were actually injured going into that game, with Vita Vea having a pectoral issue, and he was limited in his snaps a little bit. And Devin White with a groin issue, which actually caused him to actually pull up on a pretty big play after an interception. He didn't make the interception return as much as he wanted to because of the injury. So yeah, but either one of those guys can do a lot of damage to a weakened offensive line. But it would start with Vita Vea. It would start with him and what he can do, because he's the guy who opens up those holes for a Devin White and a Levante David. So yeah, if either one of those guys come into the game healthy or at least 75%, it could be a tough game for any offensive line, good or bad. So cool. Any other parting shots you want to give to your fellow Saints fans? This one time I open the floor and leave it up for you Saints fans to say whatever it is you need to say, because normally I'm gonna be talking shit about you guys for 333 days out of the year. So
I'm good, because we're probably going to talk trash about you guys too. Anyway, we both do. Let's be honest there.
No, absolutely. Again, man, I want to thank you for your time. I like to hear different perspectives about the teams. I mean, nobody follows the team like an actual hardcore fan. A lot of people tune in to national media and stuff like ESPN and Fox and all this other stuff, where people who basically pretend like they watch everything as closely as fans. So I like to hear what other fans think and what they feel about the game of football and their teams and how they feel about it, because you won't get that from somebody who's just trying to be right rather than trying to actually have insight on the teams that they follow. Thank you very much, man. Before we get out here, again, if you want to let the folks know out there how to follow you on either Instagram or Twitter, let fellow Saints fans know how they can follow you and be involved in the conversations that you have about your team.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter or X, as it's preferred now. I hate that name, at Ryan Prindall _ and Instagram is just Ryan Prindall. It's just Ryan Prindall.
Solid. We'll make sure we get that up, and so get that up so other fans can see it. Ryan, man, I want to thank you for your time, man. I appreciate you. Something that you and I do have in common, we do follow a Discord channel that does cover the NFC South. So far, has been one of my favorite Discord channels and social media platforms to actually follow the teams. And yeah, we do talk a whole lot of shit in those platforms and in that Discord. But every now and again, we get to have actual real conversations similar to this one. So if any of you other fellow Bucks fans or sorry ass Saints fans that want to jump in and take a look at that Discord, please check that out. The more the merrier. Again, got a pretty good moderator who is a Saints fan who keeps it sensible, keeps it smart. And that's kind of basically what we all want to do. Just want to be fans, have fun with each other, and enjoy the game as fans. But yeah, and I encourage everybody to do that. Whatever platform you may be on, whatever your favorite platform that you like to be on, please be a fan, be responsible to each other. Stop acting a goddamn fool. I am Robert Green. This has been the Outside Leverage with a Week 4 preview against the Crescent City Criminals, known as the New Orleans Saints. I will be in attendance, making the drive once again from Atlanta to New Orleans, a beautiful city with a lot of beautiful people and a whole lot of fun. I will be there to root on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ryan, I hope you enjoy the game, but not too damn much. Thank you guys who have listened. I will talk to you guys next time. Thank you again. I'm out of here. Later. Ron, thank you so very much, man. Yeah, I'm sorry for the. I guess it was just like a few different audio cues. 1 second, let me have to kill the stream here. Gonna end the stream, but yeah, I think there was just a few audio issues. I think it may have just been my program that was going on that actually caused those issues. But but thank you again, man. Appreciate you.
No problem.
All right, later.
Later.